Welcome. My name is Dakpo, and this is the second part of the Advanced Diddy Guide. The old guide came out July 17th of 2019, which is about a year and a half from this recording. I really wanted to make some updates to things that are different and even expand on some things that we've learned and already knew about. I also wanted to say that the old guide was extremely ahead of its time and had a lot of topics and meta predictions that aged fantastically. With this guide, I'm simply just going to be updating some things. I'll definitely be referring people back to that first guide for a slew of topics still. And without further delay, why don't we go ahead and jump in? Okay, for this first section, we're going to talk about some new techniques that have been discovered since the time of my last guide. First thing, we're going to start out with PCA, which stands for Peanut Cancel Aerial. It's a relatively new way to cancel the Popgun. It's really consistent, which is why I like it. Your inputs are going to be neutral special, into, any direction, up, down, left, or right, grab, and jump all at the same time. You can't do neutral direction, so you have to pick something. And you're most likely going to need a special button or a jump button as one of your shoulder buttons. But I'm going to leave this to you to figure out how you would like to map your controller, or if you want to do some really weird claw things. You can use it a number of different ways. You can run off platforms, you can B-reverse off of them, do cool mix-ups, you can change your momentum, you can mix it in with normal Popgun cancels, do some tricky edge guards, just be creative. Check out some other players that are using B-reverses and implement it however you want. One caveat of this technique is you have to do an aerial. There's no easy way to just skip into the B-reverse without committing to an aerial, and obviously you need your double jump to do this as well. The next technique we're going to talk about are the crouch ledge slips. This is a relatively unexplored tech, but I feel the need to include it as it might be important one day. The technique essentially allows you to fall off the ledge while hugging close to the stage. You perform the tech by running up to the ledge, holding down slightly forward. This will put you at a crouch, and then from there you roll your stick forward. You can also do this by crawling up the ledge. Now, as you can see here, it moves you slightly back, so if you want a closer edge guard to the stage, you can do that. I'll go ahead and post a link in the description of a full video on crouch ledge slips. Another use for this ability is to wall cling after the crouch ledge slip. I'll be honest, it's really hard not to grab the ledge if you're trying to do this. If you can do it consistently, more power to you. I'm sure it just takes work with muscle memory to do so. The wall clings in generally are better if you get close to the ledge. And so although this technique lets us cling pretty close to the ledge, there's actually another technique that allows us to cling even closer. You can do a normal Popgun B-reverse to cling extremely close to the ledge. If you want instructions on how to do a basic Popgun cancel, just check out my section of tech in the original Diddy guide. The downside is if you mess up the input, you're going to air dodge to your almost certain death. So force trips are really cool. It was discovered that Diddy can hit very specific angles of shields with banana and force a trip. You can do it the following ways. You can do a pivot down toss in the front of the shield and in the back. You can do a short hop down toss in front of the shield and on the back. You can also do a RAR down toss in the front of the shield and RAR down toss in the back of the shield. Not every way works on every character, but a list has been compiled thanks to the really awesome work of Nathan. I put the link in the description. This is probably the most unexplored tech that could be meta relevant. It's probably going to be really good at catching landings. The counterplay to this is going to be to tilt your shield in different directions. I don't really suspect people are going to do that until this becomes popular, if it ever does, but I would love to see this technique flourish. I think there's some potential here. Pivot cancel down tilt is the next tech in our repertoire, and it essentially functions as a down tilt that slides a little bit further than our normal dash down tilt. If you've ever seen a Crom run around the stage trying to force a pivot cancel F tilt, it's basically the same thing. To do it, all you need to do is start by running. You get past your initial dash length or your foxtrot length. and then you press back and then down on the C stick at the same time. To describe where you need to get into your dash, if you start your dash and then you press back and you slide rather than immediately turn back around, that's the correct part of your dash you need to be in. If it lands, it's pretty similar to a normal down tilt, but it's got a few bonuses. So it can combo into smash attacks better. Down smash and F smash particularly. Down smash is pretty unique to pivot cancel down tilt, but F smash is something that you can usually get with just a normal sliding down tilt. So its place in Diddy's metagame isn't like exactly defined now. I'll be watching that one as well, but I have to admit landing down tilt to down smash is really helpful and sends in a really great angle against characters like Cloud per se. Alright, that about wraps it up for the new techniques since the last Diddy guide. Let's go ahead and talk about the new strategies. So the Z drop is something that I talked a lot about in our first guide, and as predicted, it turned out to be extremely useful, extremely important. But I'm talking about it again, so let's talk about what's new. Well, mainly the application of it regarding edge guarding. So Z drop into down air is absolutely devastating. Since banana is transcendent, it will interrupt just about any recovery. You can catch characters from Game & Watch to Lucina and everything in between with Z drop down air. It's a must to steal early kills. You're killing them at 20%, 30%, any percent that down air can kill. It's insanely good. There's two different ways that I like to do it. One is you can roll against the ledge and then just do your Z drop down air from there. This is slightly slower than the other way, but it's 100% consistent and it's really easy. The second way you can do it by doing your sliding animation into the ledge and then you do the Z drop. This version is faster, but it will carry your momentum if you do it too early in the animation, and that'll push you a little way from the ledge. Sometimes it doesn't set you up as perfectly as the other way, but you know, being faster has a lot of perks in itself too, so you need to know which one to use in which scenario. The next tech I want to talk about is ISAC, which stands for Instant Z-Drop Aerial Catch. Now you do this with banana in hand and it allows you to do aerials without letting go of that banana. Now it's going to use the use of the banana, so anytime you do this technique, just be aware you have a one toss banana, so it'll go away immediately if you hit something or if it touches the ground. This is really good because you can fight almost normally, except you still have the option of throwing the banana. The main goal is to condition your opponent to start spacing around your aerials and not your banana, and then you get them with banana. You can also start conditioning shield really well with this, start monkey flipping. At high level, I think it's really important to hold on to banana until the right moment, because your opponents are not going to let you pull out bananas all the time, and they're not going to let you hit them so easily with the banana. So waiting for that perfect moment is really important. It also allows you to perform the much needed Isaac Dair, which is just a common scenario that happens a lot, but I really think this is one of the most important strategies that have developed as of late, popularized by Tweak mainly. I just can't stress how important it is to be able to hold on to banana until the right moment at a high level play. So I'm really excited to see where this technique and this strategy goes. The next move I want to talk about is forward tilt. Forward tilt got buffed in one of the recent patches, and it wasn't a small buff. It was a very big buff. This move is enormous now. And what do we use it for? Well, we use it for 2 frames a lot. We really didn't have that great of a 2-frame tool. Down tilt didn't work as well as you would think. And now we can use this. You can also use it to control space. I'll talk about that in doubles. The move's also just really strong. It's like hitting someone with a rod or something. It's just so powerful. So keep an eye out for it. Start implementing it into your play. You're going to see the good Diddy start doing it. I recommend everyone else get on board that train. The next strategy I want to talk about is anti-banana theft. So every once in a while your opponent's going to be able to get your banana from you, and you need to know the counterplay against that. Needless to say, a lot of these tactics will work against you as well, so we're going to go ahead and talk about both sides in the counterplay. The first method I want to talk about is what I learned from the Japanese players back in Smash 4. You can simply just stand by the ledge when your opponent has banana, If they hit you, it just knocks you to the ledge. There's no way they can get like a true follow-up. The counterplay to this is to go for a ledge trump instead of trying to get a follow-up, or you can just hang back and set up for a ledge trap. Another strat is to use your up B. If your opponent tries to throw banana and you're charging your up B, it's going to disengage the rockets. You can also catch banana in the air with your up B, so if they throw it straight up, you just up B into the banana that's falling down. It'll just tick you, and then it'll launch your barrels. You can also do this when bananas are controlled by your opponent and they're thrown onto the ground. You can just land on them with your up B, which is a really cool thing. It doesn't do any damage to you, or you can kind of crash into it and disengage your barrels that way as well. If you want, you can even kind of combine these two techniques to do kind of a gimmicky thing where you just charge up B by the ledge, and most opponents will see that. If they have a banana in, they'll just throw a banana straight at you, and they'll just push you to the ledge and disengage your rockets. There's another counterplay that is more high level, and you should probably start learning to do this because people will definitely do it to you as well. And it is, most folks don't know the frame data of banana like you should. As a Diddy player, you should know that your banana forward throw out of shield is 7 frames. So if someone is doing aerials on your shield that is less than -7, then those are pretty much going to be free aerials on your shield. So you take the reverse scenario, and your opponent has your banana, they shield. Well, if you do your back air right before you land, that's -3. There's no way that they're going to hit you with banana if you shield afterwards. Our Nair is also -5 right before you land on the ground. So kind of keep those in mind as well. Most people are not going to know the frame data, so you can get away with a lot of stuff. The next strategy I wanted to talk about is up B from the ledge. This is a really good strategy, even though it sounds really dumb. All you have to do is when you're holding the ledge or anywhere by the ledge, you just Lego the ledge, double jump, and you do up B. Obviously, you do up B outside of your opponent's striking distance. And what this does is it becomes kind of like a sonic spin dash, where your opponent, it's too fast really for your opponent to react. A lot of the times they just have to guess and swing. You can react though. If they swing, you just let go of up B. You go through them, you hit them for it. The other option is if you do it and they start backing up, they start going back to center stage, all you do is you just go to the ledge instead. And this is really nice because then they're forced, they either have to come back up, which they run, they're out of position, in which case you can just jump back and do the same thing. Or if they say center stage, then you just do a normal get up and then you're on the stage for free. It's really good. Obviously, it's dangerous if they just go straight off the stage and go after you, but a lot of times you can actually just react to that and let go of up B. Definitely worth experimenting. Now that we've talked about a lot of the new strategies, let's go ahead and update our combo repertoire. I will start this section by saying if you haven't checked out my guide to doing optimal Diddy combos, you need to go check it out. It's been out for a while now, and the combos are really real. They do an enormous amount of damage, and if you're trying to become a really good Diddy, you need to start doing these combos. I'm going to go ahead and do some updates to our combo tree since that video. It's really not nearly as much. Most of everything you'll need is in that video, but there are some really cool things that we've found since then. First of all, let's talk about Nair Extensions. Nair Extensions are something that I've been doing for a few months, and I'm starting to see Tweak and others incorporate it. The premise is that you take any of your low percent, mid percent combos and you extend them with a rising short hop Nair. This is a really effective way to stretch out your combos farther. A new discovery for our combo route has been found, mostly credited to a Diddy player named Rivers. He's found that you can do this really awesome combo route from 0 to 15%-ish. What you do is you do down throw, and you react to their DI, and then you do a delayed up air off of your short hop, and then you fast fall it. This will set you up for more aerials. Your follow-up will change depending on their DI. If they DI out, then you get to have a field day. You can combo into double back air or even utilize the Nair extensions we talked about. If they DIN, you have much fewer options. Most of the time you only get a single up air. If you find your opponent consistently DIing in, then you can treat them to a few down airs. This leads into a lot of damage, especially if you can auto cancel the down air correctly. A few notes about this combo: it's really affected by percent and even more so rage. I usually don't go for this combo after 15%. At 20%, you can just swap back up to doing up throw, double back air. If you have too much rage, then down throw is going to push them way too far away. A good rule to follow is if you have 100% rage or more and you grab them above 0%, just go for up throw back air, or forward throw forward air if you want stage control. Heavy fast followers are obviously easier to combo. I recommend the additional Nair extension if they lean out slightly or hard. If they decide to hold in, then you can just do up air chains instead. If your opponent is really gung-ho about holding it, remember just to condition them with down air. And you'll either just get a ton of down air follow-ups or they'll finally figure it out and start leaning out. I also want to recommend that you can utilize platforms really well. Stages like Town and City, Battlefield, anything that you can use to do this delayed up air and to imagination, really. I encourage everyone to be really creative with this because it's pretty unexplored and I'm excited to see where it goes. Next we have Nair and Dair barrels onto platform. Tweak actually showed us how effective barrels on the platform could be. It can be set up from a Dair on the ground or Nair into an aerial up B onto platforms. Alright, one of my favorite things to do is actually take a lot of these new techniques and new strategies and start combining them in different ways. You can actually do the delayed up air into up B onto some platforms. It's kind of wild. It's not probably 100% true all the time, but a lot of characters won't be able to escape it. Even characters like Snake, if you force this interaction to happen and they're pressing their mash out option, say like grenades in this case, like it could seriously backfire. Another thing I want to talk about is Diddy's down tilt to dash attack. This isn't necessarily new, but it's really great in picking up combos at the mid percent. Something else that isn't really new is doing your landing aerials that pop up, like maybe Nair or up air, even down air at higher percents, into your monkey flip kick into forward air. It works great around mid percents, can lead into some offstage situations. You just got to be careful when you do it because it will leave you without the ability to do your up B. Well, the infinite is gone, so what do we do now? Do we just stop going for all those infinite setups? Do we lose all that progress? Well, let's talk about that. First thing, let's talk about how it was actually nerfed and what we can still do. The way it was nerfed is that they added 100 frames since the moment you actually land banana on someone and it disappears before you can pluck another banana. On frame 101, you can go ahead and pluck another banana. There's a few ways to bypass this. A lot of it, in fact all of it, involves footstalling. The first method I really wanted to talk about is the method that we got from a Diddy Kong player named Player 1. He went ahead and released a guide on how to do the standing infinite, which can be also done on platforms. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description. It'll say how to do it, pros, the cons, but I'll kind of go ahead and summarize it. It has a lot of downside. It only works on about 9% of the caps, or 8 characters. It can't be performed under platforms, so you're going to need to do it on FD or very specific parts of the stage of like PS2, like in the center or something. But it does have some really viable setups, like you can get into it. My verdict, well, I don't plan on learning it, mainly because it's only worth learning if there are important players in your region that play one of those 8 characters. For me, there's none of those people in my region, so I'm not going to be learning it. So the second infinite is essentially the same as the original infinite, except you add a footstool in the middle of it. And this works on platforms, and I believe it works on all characters, which is great. You would think, hey, maybe we have our infinite back. Maybe we actually didn't lose it. The problem comes with the cons. The cons are extremely drastic on this. And if I sound a little pessimistic, I'm just laying out how it is. If you get to the end of this and I explain all the cons and the pros of it and you're like, yeah, I think that's worth it, then good for you. Go be that Diddy and prove me wrong. But the cons essentially are not only do you have to be frame perfect, and I don't just mean like one frame perfect input, you also have to space perfect. You have to perfectly get the footstool as well as the timing. It gets a little bit worse from there is that the timing, although it's frame perfect, the timing changes depending on the height of the character. It also changes depending on the footstool animation of the character and when you need to fast fall and do your B reverses, and then it also changes depending on the height of the platform. So you have like, 5 variables here. If you mess up, you kind of just get away with like maybe 15-20%, maybe? I don't know. If you get really far into it, that's great. This is really hard. I don't know if it's consistent enough to be viable or optimal. Obviously, it's optimal if you can do it on every character, and I think it's kind of the same thing. Like, if there is like this one player that's really important to beat in your region, and you learn the infinite on them, and you can do it, that's great. Good for you. I don't really have that kind of mentality approaching beating my region or breaking into PGR or anything like that. So good luck if you are the Diddy that decides to go and do it and be that awesome person. More power to you. It took someone to step up and say the first infinite was viable when a lot of people didn't. So maybe that can be you, but it will not be me. So we've talked about the infinites that we still have. Now let's talk about what happens when we don't go for the infinite, and this is what I've been exploring a lot recently. One of the first things I like to do is make sure you start the initial part of the infinite where you hit the second hit downwards, and then the world's kind of your oyster. I really like going for down air resets. They're really tricky. They can lead to massive damage. If someone hasn't played you or encountered it before, it's really hard to know the tech right after this. After your first down air, if they don't tech or they tech in place, then the banana gets them and you just start over. If they tech roll and you throw the banana, you just react to their tech roll and just hit them with an aerial or go up there and monkey flip. Whatever you really want to do. If you want to call your opponent out really hard, you can go for another Dair reset. If you want to take it even further, you can do the soft Dair on the second time, and what happens is it just barely pops them up, and it's so hard to tech. It's so fast. You can do anything you want. You can also do stuff like we talked about the Nair Dair barrels onto platforms. Those are really good here too if you're like on a battlefield type stage. You can also go for some Nair extensions that we talked about earlier. Just a lot of the cool combo tricks that we talked about earlier. Really, whatever you want to do, but I really, really like how Dair forces people into terrible tech situations on platforms. The last thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to combos is a few updates from my optimal combo video. So that released a few months ago. I put a lot of work into it, and it's really good, and there are a lot of things I think just about every single Diddy player could have learned from that video. I learned a lot making it, and some of the updates that I've brought with me is just implementation. How are these combos actually working in a real match? Are these really viable? I'm really happy to report that for the most part, those combos are super viable. They do a crap ton of damage. It's the kind of optimization that really moves Diddy on a tier list, if I'm being quite honest. One of the things that kind of I didn't think was going to be that good, but ended up being amazing, is the use of bounce combos. These are the combos that when you spike someone on stage at around like 40% and upwards, depending on obviously how heavy they are and how stale down air is, but when you spike them on stage and they bounce, they can't tech it because on stage techs for spikes is such a low threshold for them before they turn into untechable spikes. So I've just been incorporating it into my play where I just do a Nair, I land a Nair, or they get popped up somehow, and then I just go into the down air and they just bounce up and I just keep comboing. It's really, really good. I didn't think it would be this good. It's kind of like the hidden gem out of that entire video, and I recommend you guys start implementing it when you land Nairs in the middle of the stage. Finally, I would like to talk about the optimal combo itself. The implementation of it into my gameplay has been there, and I've been trying really hard. There's been a lot of successes and there's been even more failures, but I'm starting to lean towards one specific variant of the optimal combos, and that's the variant where you do banana down air and you land behind them, and then you do a Z drop and then you do a down air. Now, all the rules apply. If you don't know what the rules are, you have to go check out the video because there's a few. But when you do this, when you land behind them in Z drop, it actually gives you, it's actually fast enough to catch all the heavies, so you get all the heavy characters. And if you do the sweet spot down there, it'll pop up the second one. And when you do that, you can still do your up B. I think in hindsight, one of the things that I kind of underestimated was how well you could still up B an opponent after you pop them up with down air, which is fantastic. I think it's a lot better than when I made that video. So you do this combo tree for almost every weight. You just learn this one combo tree. You get really good at this one combo tree. So banana, down air, Z drop, down air, B, and it's not optimal damage, but it's pretty close, and it's a massive amount of damage. So this is what I'm starting to incorporate into my play now. There's all those other variants that come up from time to time, but I think the Z drop variant is more consistent and also gets all the heavyweights, so you can start getting one thing under your muscle memory. Alright, so here we are into our miscellaneous category. First thing we're going to talk about is stages. So stages is interesting, and this is more speculative and opinion than anything. You can do whatever you want, but this is just my opinion, how I see it. There's currently two different schools of thoughts, and it's really matchup dependent. The first school of thought is traditional Diddy. This is the kind of Diddy that loves to have almost no platforms. It lets Diddy trap landings with banana really well. With this mindset, you really want to prioritize Final Destination, Kalos, and Town and City, possibly Northern Cavern, and you want to avoid stages like Battlefield and Lilat. I would say Kalos is by far and away our best stage with this mindset. It's got a wall, it's enormous, most of it plays like FD, but if you really need to, you can monkey flip, and if it really comes down to this, you can go for timeout strategies on the side platforms. You really want to avoid stages like Battlefield and Lilat, ton of platforms, really don't benefit you with this playstyle. The cons is this might struggle versus characters or players that trap landing is better than you. It's not always just a straight up character counterpick. It could also be a player counterpick as well. The second school of thought is Masher Diddy. It's really funny because this style has kind of come to prominence as we've gotten buffs to a lot of our moves and we've gotten more comfortable with comboing. Sometimes you can play Diddy and you can play him where he just wants to be in close, where he has these amazing boxing tools and these really good normals, and you just kind of want to suffocate your opponent. So we pick stages to gear towards that goal. The best stage for this is Smashville. We're close all the time. There's a platform in the center stage we can hide under, and we can combo off of really, really well. I've seen some preferences to small Battlefield as well. If you want to avoid the long stages, you really want to stay away from PS2 and Town and City. They're the longest legal stages. They're going to give your opponent the most room to run away. So the cons is you will want to avoid those super close stages against characters that can box better than you, or the players that can box better than you. Switching to the two is going to be really important. I believe Top Diddy will benefit from knowing when to go where. Sometimes you need really big stages to help set up against characters like Palu, or you might need to stick to really small stages to kind of stick close to characters like Hero, possibly Snake, something like someone who wants to get away from Diddy. I will say that at the end of the day, I think Kalos is still our best overall stage. It's like Final Destination with walls. Walls are amazing for Diddy. There's just so many options on Kalos, and it's beautiful. So do what you want to do. I don't think there's a right answer, and I think that certain matchups are going to have certain niche picks in terms of stage striking. So put some thought into it, but those are just my opinions on the schools of thought. Let's talk about secondaries. I want to start off by saying that I do think that Diddy is solo main viable. Especially until you get to the top level of play, maybe is Diddy not solo main viable. But unless you're a top PGR player, I really don't think you need a secondary for matchups. A lot of it is just outplaying your opponent. But if you did want to pick up a secondary, let's talk about what that would look like. I think we should start off by defining what traits does a good secondary for Diddy have. Well, the secondary really needs to cover zoner matchups. Diddy struggles a lot with characters like Pac-Man, Duck Hunt, Mega Man, Olimar, etc., etc. You really want to have a secondary that's also really easy to maintain. The capacity to maintain a secondary is really important because Diddy, if you didn't notice, this being like my third guide and almost making over 2 hours of Diddy tutorial content, there's a lot to learn with this character. There's a lot to master, and it just takes a lot of time commitment. He's freaking cool. I love Diddy. But your secondary probably shouldn't be a complex character. He probably shouldn't be like some really, really technical character. And if you go that route, then good for you. But from a competitive standpoint, I don't think that's the way to go. So you need a character that's easy to maintain at a tournament level without having to invest a ton of time into, and covers the zoners. So what are the best characters? Well, there's two characters that kind of shine above the rest, and that's Wolf and Palutena. And there are a few other characters that do well versus zoners, such as the Croys, Fox, ZSS. Sleeper pick might be Olimar and Min Min, since they can generally outzone the other zoners. At the end of the day, whether either you take on zoners with Diddy or you find a character that does well against them. I'm personally opting from Game & Watch at this time. This covers a lot of matchups, especially in my region that I really dislike. I really dislike the Pika matchup, the Snake matchup, Ness, Fox, and a few others. And he does like really solidly versus the zoners. I don't think he has that much of an issue. He's got a reflector. He's really, really low maintenance for me in terms of having to learn him and having to, learn very, very character-specific stuff. I can just kind of let my fundamentals shine through. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to use him, but right now I feel Game & Watch is doing well for me. I also believe that Diddy and Game & Watch have the exact opposite stage preferences a lot of the time, which gives me super amazing counterpick potentials. I believe the same could be said for a lot of characters like Mario. Like Mario's really into tri-platforms when Diddy's not, and same with Game & Watch. So kind of use that when picking your secondaries as well, but overall I would definitely say that Wolf Palutena pretty much take the cake. Doubles. Let's talk about doubles. So in my last guide, I stayed away from doubles because I hadn't put a ton of hours into it, but now I'm much, much more confident, and I put a lot of hours into it. Am I going to be winning a major anytime soon? Probably not. But I do know enough to really, really flesh out what the character is capable of. So one, what is Diddy's function in doubles? Diddy functions as a fast setup character. He performs the same role as a character like Sheik. He wants to secure a big hit for a teammate, control the match while doing so. He's extremely mobile, and he can cover a lot of ground at the same time. He can also recover off stage really quickly, which is really important when you need to come assist your teammate. he's not going to be doing a lot of damage, and he's most likely not going to be getting a ton of kills. Your sole function is to enable your teammates to excel in whatever they do best, which hopefully is getting the KO. Who does Diddy team well with? Well, I have actually made a tier list a little while ago on what I value in doubles and who I would team with if I got to choose from any characters. Diddy values kill power above all else. Aerial kill power is the most versatile, while the ground kill power is needed as well. If you just look at this tier list, it really shows that kill power is so important. On the opposite side, characters who can't kill are to be avoided. If I team with a character that has like no kill power, just like Diddy, like if I teamed with another Diddy, I would definitely switch off of Diddy and go a secondary that has that kill power, or struggle, either one. So how do we play Diddy in doubles? Well, I would like to take a moment to make sure I explain the difference between being a support partner and a setup partner. So a support partner usually plays really passive and tends to be reactionary. A setup character is a lot more proactive. You can make big plays. What Diddy does great as a setup character is he can be proactive, he can play really safe, he can play slow, he can do all of it. So he can do everything, he's really versatile. It's the benefit of having just those awesome neutral tools and those really good normals. You'll spend most of your time doing safe aerials, like spamming, landing back airs, doing down tilts and grabs. When you're behind a teammate, you can pluck a banana. I would suggest experimenting a lot with the Isaac in doubles. I found it to be useful just to be able to hit someone with an aerial and then turn around and use a banana or Z-drop out of a bad situation. Another surprising useful tool has turned out to be F-tilt. It's really great at controlling space when you can't afford to run back and reposition or anything. So if you need to hold your ground, you throw that F-tilt out and it's going to beat out most of the moves in the game. It's kind of crazy at this point. I'll also put a link to the combo video for doubles that I just released before this this tutorial. It's got some pretty cool setups. Monkey flip is really busted. If you do monkey flip and you jump, your teammate can do whatever they want, which is another reason that you need kill power on your team. In doubles, you really want to make sure you use your tools to accomplish one of two things. The first is you want to push your opponent off stage with your tools. Don't pursue, don't go off stage. You're so much more useful if you stay on stage. Or two, you get a grab and throw to your teammate. And then what do your team combos look like? Well, you can do a lot of things with your team combos. This game's kind of hard because there's the balloon knockback where they go really fast and then they slow down. Diddy's combos can a lot of the time be two-hit combos. And why that's important, things like up throw back air, or Nair back air, or Nair forward air, or up throw forward air, or down throw back air, down throw forward air. Why these two-hit combos are really awesome in doubles is because it gives your teammate time to react. Previous games, you would hit an opponent near or hit an opponent to your teammate, and you could visually see them flying across the screen, soaring, and your teammate could go, oh, it's time to combo. But now, having that buffer window of doing a two-hit combo to your teammate gives it kind of like a pseudo similar feeling. Or if your team's godlike, you could just do single hit stuff, like just forward throw and back throw to your teammate and, have them set up that way. That's definitely possible. It's just difficult. You'll almost always want to hit back to your teammate if they knock them towards you. You are not really killing anybody with any of your aerials, except if you are off stage already and you get that down air. That's really nice. The only exceptions are if you can't, you die if you do, or obviously if you can land that spike or kill. Remember that doubles is all about your damage per second or your DPS. You don't really have time to do your super long optimal combos, so the highest DPS you can usually get is through teamwork. It's really important that you value hitting things back to your teammate and they value hitting back to you. I think I see a lot of players, especially initially when they start off, when they hit someone, they go, okay, time to do my singles combos. But just remember, you don't have a lot of time, and it's all about that DPS, and that's mostly achieved through your teammates. If you get a grab at low to mid percents, as I mentioned, you should just do your up throw fair bear into your teammates. This gives them a lot of time to prepare. Monkey flip, super important. It's an incredible kill tool. Teaming with a character with a great grounded kill option can just steal stocks at like absurd percents. Just catch an opponent with your monkey flip, wait for your teammate to come, jump off. Be sure to do the jump, not the attack out of the monkey flip. And if you watch my combo video, I have like the later half is just obliterating opponents with monkey flip. So that's pretty much all I had to say on doubles. If you have any questions on that, of course, just let me know. Okay, so we're kind of wrapping up here. I always like to do this section just because I want to talk about things like Diddy's metagame, where he's at right now. Just answer those kind of questions that are purely speculative and just my opinion. The first one I would want to talk about is how good is Diddy actually? This one is really awesome because his future just looks so bright. He's one of the characters that I could definitely see just going up and up and up on the tier list as Diddy players get their stuff together and learn to actually hit the opponent really hard and then learn to play neutral really well. There's no way Diddy's anything lower than high tier. He could be higher than that. I'll be real. We need the results to back it up. I'm counting on players like Tweak, hopefully players like Aaron and Rivers, some of the Japanese Diddies, Firehow, hopefully myself. I think there are a lot of potential for the European Diddies as well. I've been seeing a lot of really cool combos from Otek is really taking those optimal combos to heart, and just so many potentially good Diddy players just getting their stuff together. We'll just have to see what the tournament results look like. I really think he's high tier above. Tweak picking up the character has been so important. He's picking up all these optimal combos. He's just a god at neutral. I definitely think you should be watching him. He's going to be making some waves, and I'm really excited to see it. Kind of just to recap, are the new infinites worth earning? Maybe. It needs the right Diddy player. I'm not the right Diddy player. I don't think it's worth earning. I'd much rather get my super consistent damage off for the infinites on platforms. But maybe it just needs the right person. Maybe someone needs to show us how it's done. And I'm totally down for that. So if that's you, go for it. Is Diddy better as a secondary? No, not at all. Diddy is a really freaking complicated character. There's no way that you're going to be able to play a really, really amazing optimal Diddy Kong when you're balancing two complicated characters. Maybe if your main is like super simple, kind of like a Game & Watch situation where the character is really simple, doesn't take a lot of maintenance, you could do it, but you'd just be having to sink so much time into it. I think he's amazing as a main, and he really does do amazing on certain stages, so he could be a secondary, but I really think it's more prevalent as a main. What do I think Diddy will look like in the future? I think what Tweak is going for in his gameplay and what I'm going to start doing is what we'll see. I think it'll pretty much stay in the two branches that it is now. It's going to be the Smash 4 Diddy players that never really learned Smash Ultimate things, but they've just got godlike neutral. So they still do well because Diddy's neutral is just really that good that you can just do Smash 4 things and still be at a high level. And then there's going to be the players that are pushing the character, that have the combos, who have are really good with the instant Z catch or instant Z drop aerial catch, where you just keep the banana. They're the super good neutral. I'm hoping it goes in the latter direction where this tech is really relevant, where it's important and people aren't wasting their time. I think that's the way Tweak's going, and I'm happy to help pioneer that way with all these guides and tutorials. So I think that's what it's going to look like in the future. There's probably going to be a lot of really good movement with down air auto cancels, really tight Z or B reverses. So if you're a new player, focus on your neutral. I know you just want to be cool and fancy and do all this stuff, but you're not going to do anything if you can't even land a hit and you can't stop yourself from getting hit. Players to watch, I definitely recommend watching Tweak, Aaron, Rivers, myself. As I mentioned, there's quite a few Japanese ditties. There's quite a few Chilean ditties, like Firehouse, really good. Keep an eye out on the European ditties. You never know who's going to pop out. I feel like there's a new Japanese or European ditty all the time. Rotek's good. There's just going to be so many ditty players, but I think like the top one to watch is really just going to be Tweak. And hopefully he keeps on improving like he is now. How do you approach zoner matchups? This is a really loaded question, and I might make kind of a tutorial or guide on this later. It just depends on how much steam I have going after this. But a lot of zoner matchups are surprisingly not banana dependent. I think a lot of Diddy players will focus on grabbing banana and playing neutral with banana. I really don't think banana's that important when other characters have better projectiles. Diddy has good normals. Diddy isn't slow. Diddy's got good mobility. Honestly, you can hash it out like a lot of other characters do without the banana projectile. Don't focus on it. Use your normals, really push projectile characters, push zoners into corners, and then slowly take space. And just remember, don't let them get past you, because then you have to play the whole song and dance again. If you corner a character like Duck Hunt or anything like that, and you start moving in and then they just roll in past you and you don't do anything about it, then they're just totally an advantage. They're totally an advantage. So push them to the edge, punish their attempts to get around you, and just play amazing neutral. And that's a really general piece of advice, but I think it just goes to show you how important stage control is and how good Diddy's normals are. How does Diddy handle circle camping? I think Diddy handles circle camping insanely well. One of the best in the game for sure. So first of all, our jump height and speed is really good. We don't have problems getting to platforms ever on any stage. Ever. The cool thing about what we can do is we can actually really use our banana to great effect here. What I highly recommend is you make sure that your banana has one use, whether you just throw it on the ground and grab it, pick it up again, or you use Isaac to just Z-drop it and pick it up really quick with an aerial. That way, if you really have a read on your opponent's movement, maybe they're jumping between the battlefield platforms, you can just throw it straight up, and if you miss, the banana just goes away and you pluck another banana. In that situation, there's zero risk to you, and if you land the banana, then you get a hit. There's really nothing your opponent can do about it. Now, it can be a thing where your opponent's just waiting for you to throw banana so they can come down and fight you without banana again. If that's the case, then don't throw banana. If you notice your opponent's doing that, just jump up there, do an instant Z-drop, aerial catch, up air, pressure them on the platform. If they're standing on a platform, monkey flip them. We've got a command grab that beats people in the air. We've got a ton of tools. There's another, if someone's trying to camp on a platform that you've got a really good read on, you can just chunk the banana onto that platform and trip them as they land. We really shouldn't have a lot of problems with circle camping, so just remember to take note. Is your opponent trying to get rid of your banana? If so, just don't throw banana at them. It's pretty simple. And just take advantage of our good tools. Well, that brings us to the end of the video. I want to thank everyone who's still here and listened to all of this. We're definitely passing 2.5 hours of Diddy tutorial content in total. This character is so deep. I love it. I've never been bored with this character. There is something that I can always be working on. He's so versatile. And I hope you guys see that too. That's one of the main points of making these types of videos and making this content. If you would be so kind, follow me on Twitter if you haven't, @TheDakpo. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want more stuff like this. If you've got any questions, my DMs are open. You can always comment on a YouTube video. I'm pretty good at responding to those as well. And I highly recommend you guys join the Diddy Discord as well. There's a lot of great resources there, and I definitely couldn't do all the slabbing by myself. So shout outs to them. And that's all I got for you guys. Until next time.